Dear learners, I am Christina Georgy, your academic counselor for the course code BEGAE-182, which is titled English Communication Skills. So today we will focus our attention towards Block 2, Unit 3 of this particular course code. For those who are attending the session online, let me remind you that this is a specialized session based on BEGAE-182. As per the request of the learners, I will be recording the session. So firstly, let's have a look at group discussions. Dear learners, in our day-to-day life, we discuss a lot of matters, right? We speak amongst groups, we discuss aspects with our friends, even at workplace also, at times we will be subjected to discussions. Humans, we love to talk and express our ideas, and these talks would be based on very many aspects of life, maybe issues of our interests. What are the advantages of such discussions? We get to interact with people, we get to exchange the ideas. If there is an issue involved, we'll understand what the issue is and we might be able to find solutions to this issue. We may agree or disagree, but then we'll have a better understanding of the issue and we may be able to find a solution to this particular problem. So when you interact with people on a particular topic, what happens is that a lot of ideas get generated. So if this discussion is done in a very systematic way, in an organized manner, these ideas will be beneficial in many ways. As I mentioned, at times it could be used to solve problems or create new avenues. So we can say that when a conversation is intended to serve an objective, that is, when a discussion is made with a purpose, that too in a very organized manner, we can call that discussion a group discussion. Are you able to follow me? I was trying to explain what a group discussion is. Something that we discuss in groups, especially with a clear-cut objective, that too in a very organized manner. I saw somebody was asking for the page number. See, this falls under page number 30 of Unit 3, Block 2 of BEGAE-182. Is that clear? Are you able to follow me? If you give me a thumbs up, I'll be happy and I'll proceed. Occasionally, if you don't understand anything, I'll explain to you. Ideally, this being a language paper, I would prefer explaining in English. But don't you worry, if you find something unfamiliar or uneasy to understand, you can let me know. I'll explain in Malayalam also. Okay? Yes. So, it's very important for you to have an understanding of what a group discussion is. For the TEE perspective, you need to study the definition of group discussion. What is that? It is a means of interaction within a team or between various teams in an organization. Suppose you work for an organization and you will be allotted different teams. So between teams or amongst teams there will be discussions. At times all together as a group there will be discussions. So such discussions in an organization very often determines managerial success also. But what are the other levels of applications of this group discussions? In our private personal life, in our day-to-day life, it is of great importance for us to be aware of such group discussions, especially if you are seeking a job. These days, the organizations are seeking for people who are able to communicate effectively. Why do you think you study this course for this BA level? You people are not strictly from an English background, I understand. You must be studying history, sociology, psychology or any other subject. But still, you are supposed to study this communication skill paper, and that highlights the importance of communication in day-to-day life. We all know English has become the global lingua franca. these days, even if you go for an interview, very often, depending on the position, probably you will be asked to speak in English. So you must be having an idea what communication is, what non-verbal communication is, how to phrase your answers, what vocabulary should you choose, how to conduct a group discussion, how to be part of a meeting. So all such practical aspects, you can gain knowledge regarding all such aspects from this particular course. Am I making sense to you? Yes, thank you. So we were discussing the importance of these group discussions in interviews and examinations today. You all know about the civil services examination, right? So even for civil services examination, it's not a group discussion, but there is an interview. Similarly, even for certain jobs, they seek people after conducting a group discussion. Alright, so if there are youngsters who look for opportunities, job opportunities, then you need to be having an idea regarding how you should work as a member of a team. There will be an analysis on the candidate's capability to work as a member in team. So, what are the qualities that an interviewer would look for the candidate? Namely, there are 5 qualities. So if you have a look at page number 31, it has been listed in bullet points. Firstly, the candidate's knowledge and awareness about a topic. If a particular topic is given for the group discussion, whether this particular candidate has knowledge and awareness regarding this particular topic will be one aspect that will be assessed. The creative aptitude of the candidate, that will also be analyzed. The third aspect would be the candidate's ability to work as a member of the team. Then you would be feeling, what is so special about working as a member of the team? See, it is not such a very easy task. When there happens an argument, where there comes a discussion, you might be agreeing or disagreeing to the situation. Right, but you should be very polite in your articulation and you should not show violence. You should be very calm, very composed. You should follow some disciplines to be working as part of a team. So all such things should be taken care of. Another area that is assessed is the ability of the candidate to lead a team. What do you call that? Leadership quality. Alright, so that will also be assessed. Finally, conferencing skill. How this person put forth his ideas and opinions. How effectively this person could articulate within a group or within a group discussion. So, to make a group discussion successful, this candidate should have not only good speaking skill but also good listening skill. He or she must listen to the speaker carefully. It is always advisable not to interfere while somebody is talking. You should be a good listener. Then only you can take turn and speak up what you have to discuss. Alright? Yes. A group discussion is a very useful technique to fulfill many purposes. Now comes the question, what are the advantages, what are the uses, what are the outcomes of a group discussion? This discussion involves the active input of a lot of people, right? There could be many people participating in a group discussion. So each and every individual would contribute something to the discussion. Therefore, we can have a lot of information. It generates ideas. Alright. It also summarizes. Whatever is discussed will be concluded towards the end. It also assesses levels of skill and understanding. Group discussions re-examine ideas presented earlier. At times, a former presented idea would definitely be part of the discussion and it will be revised or it will be re-examined. During a group discussion, at times a situation will be reassessed or reviewed. Then, group discussions also process learning outcomes of a session. Such discussions compare and contrast theories, issues and interpretations. Brainstorming of ideas takes place, or brainstorm applications of theory to life also get actively involved. What do you mean by brainstorming? Too much of ideas coming together. So that is something that we call brainstorming. So is that clear so far? Can I have your response, please? Thank you. I'm glad that you understood. If there is anything you can address, no problem. Yes. Now comes an important section. Here we'll be having a look at the differences between GDs at interview and GDs in general. GD is the short form for group discussion. Even for your question paper, you must be seeing this GD. You shouldn't be confused. GD means group discussions. So I told you that group discussions are these days part of interviews, some of the interviews as well. Both these have similar structure, but the function would be different. That is, for a general GD, the purpose would be to generate ideas, to facilitate a successful exchange of ideas. But for competitive examinations and job interviews, the candidate is assessed on the basis of the suitability for the course of the job. That is the main difference. Remember, the structure is more or less the same. Functional differences are there. So this falls under page number 32 of block 2 of your study material. Yes. About the examinations, they are mentioned in the civil services for MBA, admission process and armed forces and private sector examinations. GDs are conducted to observe a candidate's suitability for the job. Alright. So if you look at the box, the tabular column given on page number 32, you can see the various functional differences with respect to GD in an organization or classroom and GD in interviews. At some point in time, while you were studying in school or college, you must have had this group discussions, right? We give group discussions as an activity for an English lesson. Maybe you might have organized some games or some activities in class, and as part of that you might have done group discussions. But I suppose those discussions would not have been strictly structured or strictly organized for that matter. Now we will see how it must be done. So if it is done in a classroom or an organization, the main purpose is to underline, if you are having your textbooks with you, generate thinking on a particular topic. The main purpose is to generate thinking on a particular topic. What if it is in the case of interviews? The person is being assessed, right? Yes. So the purpose is to see who communicates well in a group. Among the very many people, who is the better communicator? Okay. Shall we look at the second difference? Yes, good. Thank you. So the second difference is that the role of an observer may be maintained by a member within the group. Okay, you must be wondering what the role of an observer is. In group discussions, there are some roles that are maintained. Namely, there will be a team captain, there will be a recorder, there will be an encourager, there will be a reflector. All these we will study in course of time. You just have to understand that there will be an observer in classrooms. Very often, who will be the observer? The teacher will be the observer in classrooms. What about the interview setup? The interviewers, the person who is conducting the interview, or the people, the board who is conducting the interview, will be the observers there. Moreover, in a classroom discussion, the teacher or the facilitator or the the instructor might give you feedback towards the end of the group discussion. But for an interview, the interview committee, the board won't give you feedback. You never know how you performed. You can self-assess, but explanation will not be provided. The third difference. The roles of a team captain, a recorder, an encourager, or a reflector are decided in advance in a classroom setup. I told you there are certain roles that are maintained. Okay. So in a classroom, the teacher will say, yes, Benz, you be the recorder. Dhanya, you be the encourager. And Arya, you be the captain. The teacher may pre-assign all these things when a group discussion is conducted in a classroom setup. But it is not the same when it comes to group discussion in interviews. It depends on the caliber of the individual. That is, the roles are not defined before the discussion. They come up according to the candidate's capabilities. Is that clear? It's easy if you understand. Okay. So, just listen to what I teach you, and thereafter you may refer to the textbook, and then you might find the topic much more easier than the initial glance that you must have had. Yes. The fourth difference. The topics, that is the topics for group discussion, depend upon the organization's interest, the interest of the school or the interest of the instructor for that matter. It would be on some topic that the instructor would give you, right? Pre-assigned topic. But for the interviews, the topics are chosen in such a way that everybody is expected to be aware of it. For example, for group discussions, it must be some current affair that everybody is expected to be aware of. So then your general knowledge also comes into play. The more you know, the more wonderful would be your performance, right? Yes. The last and final difference. In a classroom or an organizational setup, the members know each other very well. So there is no introduction required. Okay. But in case of an interview, almost everybody would be unfamiliar to you, right? There will be people from different backgrounds as well. So usually in an interview, the members introduce themselves when they speak. Alright. Mentioning the name of a member while referring to him or her might help the interviewers determine your listening skill. So since you are not aware of the names, unless you listen very carefully, you wouldn't be able to recollect the name. So if you are able to successfully do so, it all shows your capabilities and caliber. Is that clear? So this is important. Make sure that you study the differences. Alright? Yes. Now we'll move on to the essentials of a group discussion. Okay, there are certain conditions that must be met for a group discussion to be successful. Which are the factors that determine the success of a group discussion? There are 4. Firstly, there is only one topic for discussion. There should be only one topic on which the individuals must be able to contribute their ideas. Secondly, all the members must express their views only on this topic under discussions. There are some people who tend to move away from the main topics into subtopics. That is not the ideal way. They all must express their opinions and views on this particular topic. The third one, members must take turns to talk. What does that mean? Everybody shouldn't be speaking simultaneously. Very often we see TV talk shows where everybody would be speaking at the same time and it results in chaos. There are people who are much interested in viewing such things, but for a group discussion, never try that. If you are under the misconception that raising voice is what determines the score, it's not. Okay, you need to be well behaved. You must listen to one another, talk one after other, and respond to one another. Alright. The fourth point, the candidates must put forward more than one point of view on this topic. At times we find people who feel like, oh, I should speak something, and once they say something, they'll keep on mute. Okay, that is not what is expected from you. You need to contribute one or more points on this topic. That doesn't mean you must monopolize it. Like, that doesn't mean you should be the only speaker. No, never do that. You should take turns and speak what you are expected to speak or what you have to speak. Okay, all right. So apart from these 4 points, the members of the group must also follow certain rules. That is, firstly, equality, freedom to express, and respect for participating members. All the members of the group discussion must be aware of the fact that each and every member there is equal. Freedom to express is also same with respect to everybody, and you should have mutual respect towards the participants. The other aspect to be taken in care of is reasonableness, orderliness, and truthfulness. You should be truthful to what you say. You should be able to logically connect to the thoughts. You should be having an open mind, and you should be able to listen and accommodate the opinions of others. Take turns while talking, and you should maintain order and decorum. So if these are the rules that we should follow, there will be some do nots, right? These are the do's. So there are some do nots also. There are some things that you should never do while you are part of group discussion. So shall we have a look at those points? Yes, good. Thank you. So here are some of the examples of breach of rules. Try to write the keywords. Okay, breach of rules. Okay, firstly, when somebody is speaking, try not to interrupt that person. Allow the speaker to complete what he or she has to speak. Okay, that is the first thing. The second point is shutting down people whose views one does not like. If you are not in agreement to some point mentioned by another member, you shouldn't cut them down. You should be able to listen, and then you can disagree if you want to. Alright, you should never refuse to listen to reason or evidence. Okay, you should never have this predetermined mind not to listen to somebody. Fourth is dogmatic in one's own opinion, even in the face of evidence to the contrary. That is, if you have one particular opinion and somebody else proves you wrong, and that person also presents evidence, you should not stick on to what you already told. You should be aware that there is evidence. So what he or she must be saying is also right. So you must be having that mind of acceptance. Alright. The fifth is agreeing to a point without believing in it or under duress or threat. Be always truthful to yourself. If you don't personally agree to something, you shouldn't be pretending to be agreeing. Okay, so these are the do nots that you should take care of. Now, I told you must be polite. So one mistake that very often is seen is the way you speak. How do you verbalize it? What to say and how to say. So here are some helping vocabulary. Some phrases are given on page number 34. Very often they won't ask you question from this area, but for general understanding you may have to read this even if you are participating in one group discussion, or even while communicating in English, you can make use of such phrases such as a very good morning to all of you. I strongly support this idea because, and you can complete the sentence. The second, to begin with, I would say. Then you can add on to whatever you want to add. Then another way is to put it this way. The first thing that comes to my mind when I think of, then you can add on to what you want to say. So these are examples of the ways in which you can introduce, you can begin by saying. Is that clear? Yes. So remember, you can always begin in a way that suits your own style of speaking. There is no rule that you should begin only this way. Okay, but remember, try to include others in your conversation to convey that you are open to others. Say, as she rightly pointed out. or as it's always better to name the person. Alright, yes. So you can also do this by using we and us instead of I and me. Rather than saying I and me, be much more open and say we and us. Okay, it is important that whatever you say fulfills a purpose. Okay, so you need to consider the 5 words given in your textbook on page number 35. That is, what is known to someone or most of the participants, what may be unacceptable to the audience, the level of detail needed, the depth of ideas that is required, and what must be said at a point. Okay, it's always important to ask for clarification. What do you mean by clarification? If I ask, your name is Danya, is that correct? There I am seeking a clarification from Danya. I am asking her if this is your name, am I correct? Okay, that is an example for a clarification. Similarly, during the group discussions also, asking for clarification is very important, especially when you do not understand what another person has said. Okay, so during the discussion you may make use of phrases such as, I would like to add a point here. As you have rightly said, I thought we forgot to consider the fact that, then you can add your contribution towards it. I mean, without interfering the other speaker. Then, regarding group discussion, your course material, I am referring to the official study material, provides you a wide range of vocabulary and phrases. Say, here are some more suggestions of language which can be used in a group discussion. How can you state an opinion? Here are some examples. You can say, in my view, or you can say, it seems to me. Alright, then you can also say, I believe. Alright, there are a few other examples also given. How do you interrupt a conversation? Very commonly we use excuse me. Right, excuse me, may I ask for a clarification on this? Another way to put forth is, if I may interrupt. You can also apologetically start off like, sorry to interrupt, but then you can say what you have to say. So suppose I am speaking and Adira is trying to interrupt me. Then I can say, sorry Adira, please let me finish this. Okay, or if I may finish what I am saying. Or I could be more polite towards Adira and say, could you please allow me to complete what I am saying, Adira? Yes. Then moving on, or moving the discussion on, how can we proceed further? We can say, can we go on to think about something? Yes. If we agree to something, we can say, I totally agree. I quite agree. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely, precisely. See, if you are in the habit of watching television reality shows, the judges there would certainly say, absolutely, perfectly, exactly. Right? Yes. Then expressing disagreement. If you don't agree to something, you can say, I don't agree at all. I totally disagree. I don't really think so. You can place it according to the situation. Then we may have to check comprehension, that is, we may have to check understanding. For that matter, we can say, are you saying, or we can say, if I follow you correctly, then add on to what you have to say. You can also make suggestions like, I suggest that. That is the straightforward way of putting it. Then perhaps we should. Perhaps is something similar to maybe. Okay. What about? That is also another interesting way of making a suggestion. So there, as part of activity 1, you can have a look at a sample group discussion. Due to the time constraints of an academic counseling session, I am not moving on to the activity, but you may have a look at it in order to understand the structure of a group discussion. Is that clear? Yes, thank you. So when you think of group communication skills, Positive interdependence is a very important term. So this is on page number 38 of your course book. IGNOU official study material is what I refer to as course book. Okay, what do you mean by positive interdependence? We all know that positive is something good, right? Interdependence, dependence means we depend on somebody or depend on something. Inter means this way and that way, relatively. So when we are in a team, we should have a collective consciousness. We should have a feeling that we are together. Okay, so it is considered as if the members of the group should share a task, a common goal, and a common resource. So like I said before, instead of I, we can make use of we, so that there will be a feeling of togetherness in a positive way. Even if you have disagreements in a collective group, like instead of saying that doesn't make sense at all, you can say, I don't think I agree, could you please explain? Okay, that would be a much more polite way of expressing. At times, if you feel like something is not right, you can say, this is not right. Instead of that, you can say, I disagree because this would be a more polite way of putting it. So your study material provides you many such examples. When you have time, you can go through that. Those vocab won't be part of question paper. You wouldn't be asked to write suggestions or vocabulary suggestions to start the meeting or something. They wouldn't ask that way. It's for your general understanding. Alright? Yes. Then how do you overcome differences in communication style? The way I communicate would totally be different from the way Mrudula communicates, or Srija communicates, or Praveena communicates. It depends from the style, person to person. It differs from person to person, yes. So some people may think aloud. The way they express would be very loud. Some people would be introverted, some others would be extroverted. So what you should do is that group members with an extroverted style need to periodically relax, and they should also stay silent at times. But those with an introverted style need to encourage themselves to speak more often. Okay, extrovert are basically active people, and introverts are basically people who don't talk much. I hope you know that, right? So even in a group, you should always acknowledge differences in gender and culture. The other members in the group must be from other gender or genders or even different cultures. So you shouldn't be having a hindrance because of that. Okay, you should be comfortable and accommodating and open to gender and culture. It is very common to take up roles in group based on gender socialization. So groups work together best when group members experiment with a variety of roles in groups. That is also something that you should take care of. So if you are a participant of a group discussion, in order to ensure whether you are successful, you need to take care of certain points. That is, you need to check whether you have incorporated prior knowledge into discussion. What do you mean by prior knowledge? Previous knowledge that you already had in you. Okay, have you asked questions in an open-minded way? That is the second aspect to be checked. The third is, have you built on the comments of other group members to enhance the discussion? That is, did you actively participate in the discussion? The fourth one would be, have you volunteered ideas in a constructive manner? And the fifth would be, have you helped to summarize? Did you help to conclude, or did you help to come to a conclusion? And the final one, have you identified any missing information in the group answer? All these are aspects that you should take care of, and by following all these techniques, you will be a wonderful performer in a group discussion. Now, we already spoke about the roles. Let's have a detailed understanding of the roles. You may be required to play different roles in a group discussion. Which are the prominent roles? Team captain, recorder, encourager, and reflector. Okay, the way I remember is TRRE. Okay, I made this acronym and I tried to remember these 4 aspects. So find your own ways to memorize aspects. This is a particular paper where you'll have a lot of points to remember. From the very first glance, this would look as if a very easy paper, but when you start writing the answers, you'll feel like it's so very difficult to memorize everything. So the way I find effective would totally be different from Priyadarshini or Sriji or Mumtaz. Okay, it depends from person to person, differs from person to person. So find your own ways. Okay, some people might find it easier to jot down the major points. Some people would be much more comfortable with mind maps or pictorial representation. Some people can mug up everything effectively, but the suggestion that I would give you is that try not to mug up details. If you mug up, what happens is that if there comes a pause, everything will be lost. Instead of that, if you try to understand the concept and then study, you'll be able to manage in your own words at least, right? So have an idea of all these things. It's high time for you to start your TEE preparation. So what is the role of a captain? His or her role is to keep the group focused on the task. I'm speaking about the group assigned for group discussion. So this leader, this captain, is the one manages time and mediates conflict. If there comes a conflict, a disagreement, it is this person who tries to act as if a mediator. So what would be the role of a recorder? Obviously, the recorder will record the main points. This person will take down notes on the important points. So he or she also report back to the group as a whole. Then there is the encourager. It is this person who gives feedback to the group members. He or she is responsible for making sure that all group members are heard, which means that all group members speak out their opinions and they are listened to. Finally, there is reflector. What does this person do? This person, the reflector, keeps track of the group process and makes comments about focus, direction, organization, listening skills, and also participation of all members. So once a role is decided upon, you should not switch over to other roles. So if you are assigned the role of a reflector, you shouldn't be the recorder. You should be well aware of what you should do and you should do accordingly. Remember, group processing and group assessment, these are very important aspects that contribute to the development of communication in a group. So to assess your group after group discussion, you need to reflect on 3 aspects, which are the contribution, way of speaking, and attitude. So firstly, has this group member contributed significantly? Secondly, in what way did this group member speak? What was the attitude displayed by the group members? These are the 3 aspects that you should take care of as part of assessment. So on page number 42 also, you can have a look at a sample group discussion. When you have time, you can read about that. And very often they ask you a question, a practical application level question regarding group discussion. If so, if you are attempting that question, it's always better to read that and understand the structure. Alright, is that clear so far? So thank you so much for joining me today. We'll meet again soon. Till then, take care and thanks for joining.